In today's cutthroat sports marketing landscape, a provocative question is making the rounds. How is a young, rising talent outselling the world's number 2 ranked player? Grand Slam victories may bring fame, but they don't always command commercial respect. And this week, the tennis world received a sobering reminder of that truth. This story has nothing to do with forehands or rankings. It's about influence, identity, and who genuinely holds power in the sneaker business. Welcome back. Today we're breaking down a situation that has reportedly left one of the WTA's most decorated names feeling uneasy. Aryna Sabalenka, world number 2 and multiple Grand Slam champion, is rumored to be experiencing tension with Nike. The reason? A staggering commercial gap between her product performance and that of Alex, a teenage sensation still working her way up the tour. The contrast is almost unbelievable. Sabalenka's signature tournament shoes are appearing on 50% clearance racks across American and European retail outlets, while Alex's limited edition Nike release sold out in under 60 seconds. To fully grasp the impact, we need to go back to the beginning. When Nike announced a special edition tied to Alex, casual observers still considered her a prospect. But the market was already primed. Her fanbase, energized by social media momentum, Filipino national pride, and a deeply relatable journey, wasn't simply purchasing sneakers. They were buying into her story. What should have been a straightforward product launch became a global cultural moment driven by identity and emotional connection. Meanwhile, Sabalenka, a proven champion by every measure, found herself in a perplexing position. Elite on-court achievement wasn't converting into commercial dominance. In today's branding environment, storytelling frequently outpaces trophies, and emotional resonance can outweigh raw performance. Right now, Alex embodies that shift. Despite her rigorous training at the Rafa Nadal Academy, Alex hadn't yet become a mainstream name in Western tennis circles. She wasn't contesting center court finals. Then Nike posted her shoe online. What followed was extraordinary. Not an hour, not 10 minutes, 60 seconds. The inventory vanished. Checkout systems crashed. Fans from the Philippines and across Southeast Asia flooded online stores with the kind of energy typically reserved for high-profile streetwear drops. This wasn't merely a sellout, it was a signal. Alex is more than an athlete. She is a movement. Simultaneously, resellers listed her shoes at triple the retail price, while images began circulating online of Sabalenka's products sitting untouched in Nike outlet stores. Rows of Nike Zoom GP Turbo shoes, the very model she wore during her greatest championship moments, lined up quietly beneath bright red clearance stickers. It wasn't just a retail situation. It felt symbolic. A message delivered without a single word spoken. On one side, Alex's gear disappearing like rare treasure. On the other, Sabalenka's signature shoes accumulating in surplus. The contrast was sharp and deeply uncomfortable. According to insiders close to the tour, it has left Sabalenka genuinely frustrated, and understandably so. When you examine her resume, it's hard not to sympathize. She has defended her Australian Open title, consistently advanced deep into the semi-finals and finals of the sport's biggest events, and terrorizes opponents with an explosive, high-intensity style that makes her one of the most formidable competitors in the game. By every traditional measure of merit, she should be winning the commercial race. Her products should be the ones disappearing in seconds. Yet the reality unfolding tells an entirely different story. So the question becomes unavoidable. Why is this happening? Why is a teenage rising star breaking the internet while the world number 2 appears marooned in the bargain section? To answer that, we need to look beyond rankings and examine how the Nike machine actually operates, because this isn't about favoritism or conspiracy. It's about strategy. Nike operates through a layered inventory system built on market logic. For a globally dominant athlete like Sabalenka, the brand applies a mass distribution model. She maintains consistently high visibility throughout the year, appearing deep in tournaments across the entire calendar, representing reliability and sustained presence. As a result, Nike produces her signature footwear at scale, with hundreds of thousands of pairs distributed worldwide across shopping malls, tennis specialty retailers, and major chains. This broad availability generates steady revenue, but it also creates a vulnerability. When even a portion of that supply doesn't move immediately, those units eventually migrate to discount shelves. Being the dependable superstar means becoming accessible, and accessibility rarely creates urgency. Alex represents the opposite philosophy: scarcity. Nike identified early that she commanded an exceptionally passionate following, particularly in the Philippines, where athlete loyalty runs deep and emotional connection directly shapes consumer behavior. Rather than saturating the market, they deliberately restricted supply, releasing her shoes in tightly controlled, limited quantities. The outcome was predictable, yet powerful. High demand collided with limited availability, and the 60-second sellout became the story itself. The narrative of instantaneous success generated far more value than months of steady sales ever could. Sabalenka moves product through consistency. Alex generates waves through exclusivity. One reflects long-term stability, the other manufactures short-term frenzy. And this is where the deeper transformation becomes visible. For decades, sports marketing operated on a straightforward equation: win trophies and the market follows. But in the social media era, that formula has fundamentally changed. Performance alone no longer drives influence. Storytelling, identity, and relatability now carry equal, if not greater, weight. Consumers are no longer simply purchasing equipment. They're buying connection. They're investing in narratives that move them emotionally. Alex isn't selling shoes. She's representing aspiration, cultural pride, and a sense of belonging. That emotional alignment transforms a product into a symbol. And in today's market, symbols travel faster than statistics ever could. When a Filipino fan purchases her shoes, they're not completing a transaction. They're embracing something far deeper. It's about belonging. It's about pride. It's about identity. The product becomes symbolic rather than functional, an act of patriotism rather than commerce. That kind of attachment is extraordinarily powerful, and in modern marketing, emotion frequently outweighs achievement. Sabalenka, despite her dominance, occupies a far more complicated space. She comes from Belarus, a country whose geopolitical associations inevitably influence global perception. Beyond that, her personal brand centers on intensity, power, and raw aggression, qualities that are devastating on the court but don't always translate naturally into lifestyle appeal. Winning matches doesn't automatically mean selling culture. Nike appears to be struggling to convert her on-court authority into off-court desirability. And fans are beginning to notice the gaps. Where is her signature identity? Where is the Sabalenka lifestyle line? Where are the collaborations that bridge performance and fashion? Compared to athletes who receive fully customized product creations, she frequently appears in modified versions of standard gear. And when a champion is marketed like a standard product, the market inevitably begins to treat them that way. History demonstrates how dangerous this dynamic can become. Roger Federer famously departed Nike to pursue ownership and recognition on his own terms. Other elite athletes have made similar moves when seeking stronger personal branding within enormous organizations. Unless you occupy the absolute top tier, the risk of becoming one component within a vast system, rather than its focal point, is very real. If reports of Sabalenka's frustration are accurate, this moment could become significant leverage. A compelling narrative is taking shape. Alex sells out instantaneously, while Sabalenka's products are discounted. That contrast speaks loudly in contract negotiations. If meaningful adjustments aren't made, the prospect of exploring alternative partnerships becomes genuinely plausible, and a move to a rival brand could dramatically reshape the women's tennis apparel landscape overnight. There is also a generational dimension to consider. Alex belongs to the Gen Z era, digitally native, highly engaged, and deeply embedded in mobile-first culture. Her social media reach delivers something rankings simply cannot: direct access to a vast, young Asian audience that global brands are fiercely competing to capture. In this context, Nike's strategy reflects a forward-looking investment. Alex symbolizes future growth, while Sabalenka, despite her own youth, is perceived as part of the established guard. On social platforms, the divide is already evident. Fans celebrate Alex's sellouts, sharing purchase confirmations and treating each release as a cultural victory. The sentiment circulating is straightforward. Connection can rival trophies. And in today's market, that idea is gaining serious momentum. Supporters argue that Nike simply hasn't invested enough in showcasing just how extraordinary Sabalenka truly is, that if even a fraction of the hype-driven marketing budget allocated to limited drops were redirected toward her storytelling and brand building, her products would command identical demand. This situation extends well beyond footwear. It sits at the intersection of sports economics, cultural identity, and generational influence. Fans are now sharing photos of Sabalenka's discounted shoes as evidence of brand mismanagement, and the visual narrative is difficult to counter. Clearance stickers on shelves are shaping public perception just as powerfully as on-court highlights. So, how can Nike course-correct before risking the departure of one of its most competitive assets? First, Sabalenka cannot continue to be treated as a standard athlete. She requires a bold, distinctive identity, a visual symbol that authentically reflects her aggressive, explosive playing style. A signature emblem, a unique aesthetic, and a shoe designed as a genuine extension of her game rather than a modified generic model could reposition her as a force both on and off the court. Second, inventory strategy must evolve. Flooding retail channels with widely available colorways inevitably produces discount cycles. Introducing controlled scarcity, limited championship editions, for instance, could shift her perception from accessible to desirable, demonstrating that she, too, can generate instant demand when positioned correctly. At the same time, Sabalenka's greatest strength remains unchanged. Championship trophies build lasting legacy in ways clearance racks never can. But in today's landscape, she may also need to think like the chief executive of her own personal brand. If her commercial value isn't being fully realized within the current structure, exploring alternative partnerships could become a serious strategic consideration. The broader story unfolding between Alex and Sabalenka ultimately reflects something much larger than shoes. It mirrors the evolution of global sports marketing, how emerging markets are gaining influence, and how anticipation can sometimes rival achievement in shaping commercial success. As the season progresses, this situation will be worth watching carefully. Will Sabalenka reaffirm her partnership with Nike, or will subtle signals begin to emerge? Gear adjustments, branding shifts, quiet digital indicators of change? For now, the battle for marketability tilts in Alex's direction, while Sabalenka continues to command undeniable dominance on the court. The question now is over to you. Is this a marketing misstep, or simply the reality of audience connection in the modern era? Does Alex deserve the spotlight? Should Sabalenka receive stronger commercial backing? And if you were in her position, would you stay or consider a new path? Share your thoughts below, and stay tuned as we follow every release, every shift, and every twist in this evolving story. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The game beyond the scoreboard is only just beginning.